Let us be aware that while they preach the supremacy of the state, declare its omnipotence over individual man, and predict its eventual domination of all peoples on the earth, they are the focus of evil in the modern world.
Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest.
America will find you, and we will bring you to justice.
He came, we saw, he died.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is May 25th, 2023. I'm looking out my window this morning. Doesn't look too great, clouds everywhere, but looks like the sun may come a-smiling here in a little bit. If it does, I'm going to be right out there smiling back, walking around, getting a little bit of fresh air, and I suggest you people do the same. Today is Thursday, and this weekend I will be taking a short trip to Serbia, the land of my wife's forefathers, the place that we all know of as a land of war. And it got me thinking, because recently I think everyone saw on the news that there were some school shootings in Serbia. Now, hearing this as an American, it doesn't take anybody by surprise. School shootings happen. Kids are crazy. Their brains are just corrupted with hormones. They're being pumped full of psychotropics and just all sorts of antidepressants, different medications, Adderall. You know, it's not an easy world to live in as a kid these days. So they like to have a little fun and go picking off bad guys. You know, everything's a video game to them now. So they have a hard time distinguishing between what's real and what's not, what's on the TV screen and what's right in front of them. But Serbians are not used to this. They should be, because, you know, they've pretty much been a people at war for the past 400 or 500 years. They're the most recent major war in a European city, with not including the Ukraine, but in continental Europe, they are the most recent war zone. So you would think that they would be a little bit used to wanton violence, but it's taken them by storm. These poor kids coming in, playing whack-a-mole with their classmates. But if you're an American, like I said, it does not surprise anyone. This happens weekly, it seems like, sometimes multiple times a week. But, you know, that's just the way of the world. That's the way that America operates. That's our shtick, you know. Some countries have their thing, you know, the Dutch have their canals, and the Belgians have their waffles, and the French baguettes and cigarette-smoking lady men. And America has guns, and lots of guns, so lots of people get shot by guns, and we do not discriminate. You know, old people, young people, white people, black people, Asian people, gay people, straight people, dogs. Dogs get shot by guns a lot, it seems. Cats, you don't ever hear about a cat getting shot. You know, the FBI never raids somebody and goes and shoots their cat, or, you know, a cat never attacks anybody on the street, and all of a sudden, you know, somebody shoots the cat in fear of their lives. There might be something to that. It might be the cat lobby that's financing all of this fear in America nowadays with guns. But I digress. So Serbia is racked with this new phenomenon of school shootings, and they went hard on it immediately. They told everybody, turn your guns in or get arrested. If we come and we find guns, illegal guns, we're gonna take them and go to prison. Now, America would not allow this. You know, we have, like I said, we have a fascination, a love affair with our weapons, and that's not a crazy thought. It's not some bad belief that America holds. We were founded on the belief that every man should be able to protect himself against anyone who invades his personal property, his personal safety, the safety and wellness of his family. A man should be able to protect himself. And like it or not, there are guns in the world. Ideally, in a perfect society, you know, if somebody had a time machine, you could go back to whenever that Chinese rocket man invented gunpowder and just, you know, throw him in a river so that he never comes up with it, and we could come back today and there'd be no guns. Okay? But we don't have a time machine. We can't go back and do it. We have to live with the reality that there is an extreme amount of weaponry on this planet, and we have to make the best of it. Now, that said, you know, it is written into the founding of America that we have the right to possess these tools. We have the right to use them when necessary, whether that be protection of our home, of our family, of ourselves, protection of the nation against an invading army, protection of the nation against an overwhelming tyranny that may develop. That's just the way it is, and that's the rule of the land. Now, people may not like it, but that's as fundamental to the founding of America as the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's why we have such a love affair. Now, this comes as a complete shock to Europeans, and it is very rare that I will talk to any Europeans and they have any sense of reality about gun ownership. Everyone that I know, where I'm at, save a very fair few, but most people, I'd say 95% of people I know, have no idea what it's like to use a gun, own a gun, see a gun, hold a gun. They've only seen weapons in movies, so of course their mentality is that guns are just these scary black things that are on the other end of killing. And if all you knew about weaponry was that what you saw in Hollywood and on TV, then yeah, you would think that. But the reality is much different and a lot more boring. You know, most of the time people who own the most guns are just boring, lame, and go out on the weekend and shoot them for fun or use them for hunting or, you know, what have you. Most people, though, in Europe, they find the idea that people can just go buy a gun silly, unneeded. So they like to use this as an example to blame all of these, all the violence and all the school shootings and whatnot on a gun, which obviously they are being used, but in my opinion, that is a cop-out and an ignorant stance. Yeah, you can't blame cars for drunk drivers getting into wrecks. You blame the driver and you blame the irresponsible behavior and the fact that they're drunk and out of their mind. Just like you should not blame a gun for any time anyone shoots somebody. You can't blame the gun. The gun didn't do it. The gun doesn't have a mind of its own. You know, if you set that gun down on the table, it's never going to shoot anybody. You have to blame the person. You have to blame the aggressor. You have to blame the mental state of the person doing it. Why they're doing it. Were they troubled? Were they angry? Were they just a bad person committing a crime? These are all things that we need to look at instead of just taking the easy route and blaming the tool, I guess. It's just like you don't give credit to the hammer for building a house. You give credit to the builder, the construction worker. It's an ignorant fallacy. But that's the easy way to go. That's the easy road to make people feel better, so they're going to take that 9 times out of 10. That being said, in America we have an issue. We have a problem with people are fucking crazy. People are insane. I think that's very obvious. You can just go on your phone and start scrolling, and you can see how fucking nuts the majority of Americans have become. We are over-medicated, obviously. Most Americans can't get through the day without medicating themselves, whether that be through prescription medications mostly. Nowadays, we've legalized, marijuana and alcohol, so, just have at it, get fucked all day, every day, ask no questions, just stumble through life. It is what it is. Americans are fucking nuts. And it just so happens that because Americans are nuts, you have 350 million nut jobs with easy access to guns, but also easy access to a number of killing utensils. I mean, hell, you turn on Netflix, you see all these true crime stories. How many women are out here poisoning their husbands with drain cleaner and rat poison and fentanyl? That seems to be like an epidemic of just crazy housewives murdering people silently. That's the true silent killer in the world. But yeah, until there's a Netflix documentary about school shootings, as soon as there is one, I think like every woman in America is going to sit down and watch the whole season. But anyway, that's beside the point. I think the Serbians are worried that they're taking that first approach, though, that, oh my God, a kid went in, shot a bunch of people with a gun, so the gun must be the problem. Instead of addressing why the fuck is a 13-year-old, why did he snap? Why is he going crazy? What has he been consuming? Has he been sitting there just playing? And I don't want to sound like, back in the 90s, that video games and rock and roll make kids crazy, which I think there was a point to that. It just back in the 90s, video games and rock and roll weren't so aggressive, I guess, or realistic or easily obtainable. You might have got 1 or 2 CDs and that's all you listen to with your 3 or 4 different video games. But now kids are just all day, every day. Just that's what's the reality is online. Instead of going out and living in the real world and having to interact with people, people have become just another character in a artificial world that they live in. So the Serbians, they jump straight on the let's blame the tool argument instead of let's figure out what is wrong with the youth, what is wrong with the children, why are they acting out like this? And that's something that's going to be very difficult for them to address, but mainly because I think the older generation in Serbia are still a very conservative people. They're stuck in this old way of thinking, whereas the newer generation is to the exact extreme. There was never a time of transition between the two. So between a 40-year-old parent and their 15-year-old kid, there was never a moment of transition between these two generations. There was never a time to ease into a new way of thinking. It was just all of a sudden, bam, the kids are online all the time. Back in the day, the parents are out having drinks, smoking cigarettes, reading the newspaper, dancing with their friends, going to war, as the case is in Serbia. But it was a little bit of a more involved and real life. And now their kids are just 24/7 online. They're online playing video games. They're listening to music, watching Netflix, YouTube, whatever, Twitch streamers, whatever the kids do. They're always online. Their friends are online. They hardly see their friends, maybe once a week. Otherwise, they're just texting, group chats, all this. Everybody's just constantly online, so they don't exist in a real world anymore. Real humans are just avatars that they pass by daily as they're functioning, and their reality has become the second life. So I think it's easier for kids to just disassociate with those around them. And if there's a problem, used to, if we had an issue, a virus on our computer, we go on our computer, we right click, delete, move to the trash can, whatever, empty from the trash can. Easy, because that was that was distant from us, that was in another world. But now that the children are living in this other world, and reality is their second life, they see a problem arise, a bully at school, and to them it's as simple as, oh, I'll delete that problem. And that's an issue that I think not only in America, but now I guess Serbians are going to have to address and look at how to reintegrate a constantly online generation back into reality, because they are slowly slipping away. And I think most of Western Europe does a pretty decent job of this. Maybe Eastern Europe has a bit of a different concept about it, because it's just through lack of wealth that any sort of life in reality is just a natural consequence, because a lot of kids that are not sucked into this online life just aren't able to be through lack of access. I think in Western Europe they are able to, because they have the access, but they do a better job where they provide things, provide alternatives, sports, after school programs, different ways of learning, more quality time outdoors. So I think it's the two extreme. The children that are not sucked into the online world in East and West Europe are because of the two extremes. But the children that are also because of the two extremes. So in Western Europe, the kids that are probably constantly online, the ones that don't have access to more time outdoors, don't have a larger friend group, don't have more quality times with their parents. Where in Eastern Europe, the kids that are probably constantly online are probably a bit wealthier, more time to, have more access to technology, maybe a PlayStation, better computers, more time to sit around and play games. So it's a tit for tat. But this is overall an issue that the world is going to have to address in the coming years as it gets worse and worse, and that America specifically is going to have to lead the way in, because we cannot allow young people to further disconnect from everyday reality. We have to at some point draw them back in, away from that glowing blue light that is the screen, and hopefully we can address some underlying causes of the insanity and the violence that is creeping into our world. And in the future, this might help their generation be a bit more peaceful and loving than ours was. So, all right. Thank you for listening to the ramblings today. It's going to be a few days before I post another one of these. Try to like and subscribe. Give me any ideas for topics you'd like to hear. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.